There are moments on television that people never forget. Then there are moments that almost seem too emotional to be true. One headline spread across the internet faster than almost anyone could believe. Simon Cowell breaks in tears on live TV after what happened to Courtney Hadwin. Millions clicked to find out what happened. Videos were shared across social media. People argued in the comments. But was Simon really crying? And what was the heartbreaking story behind Courtney Hadwin that touched so many people around the world? The real answer is even more surprising than the headline. Before we uncover what really happened, think about this for a moment. Have you ever judged a story just by reading the headline? Or have you ever discovered that the truth was completely different? Let me know in the comments, because this story reminds us why first impressions can be so misleading. The internet has a way of turning emotional moments into something much bigger. A short video clip appears online. A dramatic title is added. Within hours, millions of people believe they have witnessed an unforgettable event. That is exactly what happened with Simon Cowell and Courtney Hadwin. For years, Simon has built a reputation as one of the toughest judges in television history. Whether on Pop Idol, The X Factor, or America's Got Talent, he became famous for giving honest opinions, even when contestants did not want to hear them. Seeing him show deep emotion is rare. That is why any clip that appears to show Simon fighting back tears immediately grabs attention. But there is another side to this story. Courtney Hadwin was never just another contestant. Long before the world knew her name, she was fighting a battle that cameras could not fully capture. While millions saw an energetic performer on stage, very few understood what it took for her just to walk into the spotlight. That hidden struggle made her journey far more powerful than most people realized. According to Courtney's interviews over the years and coverage from America's Got Talent and trusted media outlets such as NBC, she dealt with extreme shyness from a young age. Simply standing in front of strangers could feel terrifying. Yet somehow, when the music started, everything changed. That amazing transformation would soon leave judges, audiences, and millions watching at home completely speechless. But before Courtney stunned the world with one of the most unforgettable auditions in talent show history, her story began in a quiet town where almost nobody believed they were looking at a future global star. Long before the bright lights of America's Got Talent, Courtney Hadwin was just a young girl growing up in Heselden, a small village in County Durham, England. It was the kind of place where neighbors knew each other and life moved at a slower pace. Nothing about her early life suggested that millions of people around the world would one day know her name. But behind the quiet smile was a challenge that affected almost every part of her life. Courtney's parents have shared in interviews that she was extremely shy as a child. Speaking to new people could be difficult. Even simple conversations sometimes felt overwhelming. At school, she often stayed quiet while other children talked and played. For many people, this kind of shyness might seem small. For Courtney, it felt like climbing a mountain every single day. Then something incredible happened whenever music filled the room. The nervous girl who struggled to speak suddenly became fearless. She sang with power, moved with confidence, and seemed to become a completely different person. It was as if the stage gave her a voice she could not always find in everyday life. That transformation amazed everyone who saw it. But there was still one big problem. Performing in front of family was one thing. Standing in front of strangers and later television cameras was something else entirely. Her parents believed in her talent and encouraged her to keep singing. They entered her into local competitions, hoping each performance would build a little more confidence. Step by step, Courtney slowly began proving that fear did not always have to win. But the road was far from easy. She appeared on several talent competitions in the United Kingdom, including The Voice Kids UK in 2017. Although she impressed the coaches and reached the competition's later stages, she did not win. For many young performers, that kind of disappointment could have ended the dream. Instead, it became another lesson. Rather than giving up, Courtney kept practicing. She studied legendary performers like Janis Joplin, James Brown, Little Richard, Tina Turner, and Otis Redding. She wasn't trying to copy them. She wanted to understand what made audiences feel every note they sang. That decision would soon change her life forever. Every rehearsal added a little more confidence. Every setback made her stronger. Without realizing it, she was preparing for the opportunity that would introduce her to the entire world. Then came a phone call that almost nobody outside her family expected. Courtney had earned a chance to audition for America's Got Talent, one of the biggest talent shows on Earth. It meant flying across the Atlantic to perform before thousands of people and 4 judges famous for being brutally honest. Just thinking about it would have terrified most teenagers. For Courtney, whose biggest battle had always been overcoming her own fear, it seemed almost impossible. Yet sometimes the biggest breakthroughs happen when fear is at its strongest. As she walked toward that famous AGT stage in 2018, she looked exactly like the shy teenager everyone expected. She spoke softly. She appeared nervous. Even Simon Cowell wondered if she was ready. No one in the theater, not the audience, not the judges, and certainly not the millions who would later watch online, could have guessed what was about to happen. Within the next 2 minutes, Courtney Hadwin would deliver an audition that would become one of the most watched performances in America's Got Talent history, turning a quiet girl from a small English village into an international sensation overnight. The theater was silent as Courtney Hadwin walked onto the America's Got Talent stage in 2018. She looked nervous. She spoke so softly that people had to listen carefully to hear her. Her hands shook. Her body language showed just how uncomfortable she felt standing in front of thousands of strangers. Simon Cowell watched closely. After years of judging talent shows, he had seen every kind of performer imaginable. Some arrived full of confidence but failed to impress. Others looked terrified and never recovered from their nerves. Looking at Courtney, Simon gently said, "Don't be nervous. You're here for a reason, so go for it." It was a simple sentence, but it would soon become unforgettable. Then the music started. The opening notes of Hard to Handle, made famous by Otis Redding, filled the theater. And in a single instant, everything changed. The shy teenager disappeared. Standing in her place was a fearless performer bursting with energy. Courtney's powerful, raspy voice shocked the audience. She danced across the stage with wild confidence, throwing herself into every lyric. Her movements were bold, her expressions were fearless, and her voice sounded far older than her age. People in the crowd looked at each other in disbelief. Was this really the same girl who had been too nervous to answer the judges just moments earlier? Even the judges couldn't hide their surprise. Howie Mandel leaned forward with a huge smile. Heidi Klum and Mel B stared at the stage, amazed by what they were hearing. Simon Cowell, known for keeping a straight face, couldn't stop smiling. But the biggest reaction was still to come. As the final note echoed through the theater, the audience jumped to its feet. The applause was deafening. Cheers filled the room for what felt like forever. Then Howie Mandel reached for the golden buzzer. Golden confetti exploded from above as the crowd roared even louder. Courtney covered her face in shock. Tears filled her eyes as she realized what had just happened. It was one of those rare television moments that felt completely genuine. Howie later explained that Courtney reminded him of the legendary Janis Joplin because of her raw energy and fearless style. Simon also praised her transformation, saying he had never seen someone change so completely the moment the music began. The audition quickly became a global sensation. Within days, clips of the performance spread across YouTube, Facebook, and news websites around the world. Millions watched in disbelief. Viewers couldn't stop talking about the contrast between the quiet teenager who walked on stage and the electrifying performer who left it. Trusted outlets such as NBC, People, and Billboard highlighted the audition, while fans shared it across social media, calling it one of the greatest AGT auditions ever. But overnight fame comes with a price. As Courtney's popularity exploded, so did the pressure. People expected every performance to be even bigger than the last. Every appearance was compared to that unforgettable audition. Every mistake was discussed online. Suddenly, a teenager who had once struggled to speak in public found herself under the eyes of millions. And while the applause was louder than ever, another battle was quietly beginning behind the scenes. But what happened next almost changed everything. Before we reveal the challenges that came after worldwide fame, make sure you subscribe. We uncover the real stories behind the headlines, the moments most people never hear about. Because the hardest part of Courtney Hadwin's journey wasn't getting famous. It was trying to stay true to herself after the whole world was watching. For most people, Courtney Hadwin's story looked like a dream. One day, she was an unknown teenager from a small village in England. The next, she was performing on one of the biggest stages in the world. Millions of people knew her name. Her audition was viewed again and again online. Music fans, television hosts, and even famous singers praised her incredible voice. From the outside, it seemed like everything had fallen perfectly into place. But fame has a side that cameras rarely show. After the excitement of the golden buzzer faded, Courtney had to do something much harder than impressing the judges once. She had to do it again and again. Every new performance came with huge expectations. Viewers wanted another unforgettable moment. The media kept comparing each appearance to her first audition. Some people believed every performance had to be even bigger than the last. That is a heavy burden for anyone. For a teenager who had spent much of her life battling extreme shyness, it could feel overwhelming. Still, Courtney refused to let the pressure stop her. She continued performing throughout the competition, singing songs that showed different sides of her voice and stage presence. Although she didn't win America's Got Talent, reaching the finals placed her among the most memorable contestants of the season. More importantly, she had proved that her golden buzzer moment was not a lucky accident. She belonged on that stage. But once the television cameras were gone, another challenge began. Many young stars struggle after sudden fame. The attention never seems to stop. Every interview, every social media post, and every public appearance becomes something people judge. Supporters cheer for you, but critics also appear. Courtney experienced both. Some people admired her unique voice and energetic performances. Others questioned her unusual stage movements or compared her to legendary singers, saying those comparisons were unfair. The internet can be a difficult place, especially for someone still growing up. Instead of arguing with critics, Courtney focused on what mattered most: the music. She began writing and releasing her own songs, including tracks like Pretty Little Thing, Monsters, and Spellbound. These releases showed that she wanted to be known as more than just the girl from AGT. She wanted to build a career on her own terms with her own sound. That decision wasn't the easiest path. Creating original music takes time. It also takes courage because listeners no longer compare you to other contestants. They compare you to